Folks, today's video is going to simplify how self-defense laws work across much of the United States. It's going to give you simple and easy to understand examples so you don't end up going to jail just for trying to protect yourself. Right after the channel intro.
Welcome to this community. I'm an avid prepper and oath keeper, and I'm certified to teach firearms and the use of deadly force. If you want to learn actual prepping skills and how to protect yourself legally, then please subscribe and also click the bell icon so you won't miss whenever a video is released.
Okay, up front, I'm generally going to be speaking about where you, the good guy, use deadly force, whether it's shooting a bad guy or stabbing the bad guy, but where you, the good guy, use deadly force against the bad guy to protect yourself. And also please remember that I will be speaking in generalities in this video because each state has different laws regarding self-defense. And for those of you that live in California or New York or Canada or Europe, let me say now, I'm sorry for you because I know how much your area's laws seem to protect the criminal more than you. And please make sure to know the laws in your area regarding self-defense. This video is to assist you in learning how self-defense laws generally work and not to give you concrete answers for the laws in your area. But even if you do live in an area with restrictive self-defense laws, almost every country and state at least allows you to at least protect your life or somebody else's life. And each state is going to expect certain conditions to be met that I'm going to outline in this video before you can use deadly force to protect yourself. So let's jump right into them. In most areas, you have to be protecting your life or somebody else's life and not property before you can use deadly force. This means that if you catch a bad guy breaking into your car and you walk outside and shoot that thief dead, then you're probably going to be in some legal hot water. And the courts will usually require 3 criteria for the bad guy to meet before you can consider him to be a deadly threat against yourself. First, the bad guy has to have the ability to cause death or great bodily harm to you. And second, he also has to have the opportunity to commit death or great bodily harm against you. And third, he has to show intent to cause death or great bodily harm against you. So if a bad guy has a gun, he has the ability to kill you. And then if you're in range of that gun, then he also has the opportunity to kill you. And then if he points it at you or verbalizes that he's going to harm you, then he has also shown the intent that he's going to harm you. Now, many people don't struggle with the meaning of death. I mean, dead is dead. But a lot of people do struggle with the meaning of great bodily harm. And a lot of states kind of generalize great bodily harm as any injury that has a high probability of causing death or permanent disfigurement or the permanent or protracted loss of a body part. So if a larger guy has you pinned down on the ground and he's on top of you and he's raining down blows on your head to the point that it's knocking you unconscious or probably going to put you into a coma, in many areas with strong self-defense laws, you would probably be justified in using deadly force to stop that attack upon you. Or if you're a female and you're suddenly getting dragged into a dark alley by a probable rapist, then you'd probably be justified in killing or shooting that rapist to stop that. Next, the court's going to require that the deadly threat against you be imminent before you can use deadly force to protect yourself. Meaning that if you don't act now, that within the next few moments that you or somebody else will probably die. So here is a very simplified example. Let's say that a guy tells you that he's going to come to your house tomorrow at noon and shoot and kill you. So instead of waiting till noon the next day, you go and hide outside of his house the night before, and then as he's walking up to his house, you shoot and kill him. If you were to do that, you would probably be in legal hot water because the courts would rule that the imminence part wasn't there. However, if a bad guy approaches you and he pulls a weapon on you and he demands money from you and then you shoot him, then the courts will probably rule that you do have the imminence part because the bad guy is right in front of you, he has a weapon, and he's showing intention that he's not there to bake you a birthday cake. In many self-defense laws for many different areas, you'll likely keep seeing the word reasonable to keep popping up over and over and over again. And this is very important, so keep paying close attention. First, your fear that you were about to be killed or seriously wounded has to be reasonable. And here is a video example of an unreasonable fear.
Hey, can you tell me? Oh my God!
But if you were to wake up to find an intruder in your house, then many courts would find your fear reasonable that this intruder could kill you or severely injure you. And the amount of force that you use to stop that threat has to be reasonable also. And the force that you do use needs to be intended to stop the threat, not just to ensure that the bad guy is totally dead. Now that doesn't mean that the courts are going to expect you to shoot the bad guy's earlobe off or his pinky toe off or something like that. But what that does mean is that your intention was to stop the bad guy and his deadly threat against you and not simply out just to kill the bad guy. So let's use a very extreme and simple example. Let's say a bad guy pulls a knife on you and then you shoot that bad guy. And then after you shoot him, he drops to the ground, he's writhing in agony, and he has dropped his knife. Now, if you walk up to that bad guy at that point and shoot him and execute him, you will probably be in legal hot water because the courts will probably rule that the imminence part was gone because that bad guy was no longer posing an immediate threat to you at that moment in time. Now, I am not saying, and the courts do not expect it, but for you to be expected to try to shoot a bad guy into his leg or his shoulder or shoot the gun out of his hand or something like that. When we shoot bad guys in self-defense, we generally shoot the bad guy in the center mass area because it's usually the easiest target to hit in a deadly situation that is rapidly evolving. Basically, you shoot his center mass to try to immediately stop his deadly threat, and then his dying from your gunshots is just a byproduct of your self-defense. Disparity of force. These are very important words for the self-defender to know. For your fear of death or great bodily harm from a bad guy to be reasonable, the courts are not only going to expect for the bad guy to have shown intention that he's going to harm you, but they're also going to expect for him to be armed, or much larger and stronger than you, or younger than you if you're elderly, or for you to be a smaller female and the attacker to be a larger male, etc. Now, if this guy walks up to us on the street and tells us that he's going to beat us to death, many courts would have a hard time finding our use of force or our fear as reasonable if we actually use deadly force against him. The courts would expect us to use our fists or our empty hand skills to defend ourselves and not deadly force against this guy. Now, if this guy walks up to you on the street and announces that he's about to beat your brains in, then the courts would probably then find your fear to be reasonable that he could actually do it. So if you shot a guy like this in self-defense, the courts would probably find your fear reasonable that he had the ability to beat you to death because of his size. He had the opportunity if he's right in front of you, and if he was shown intent, especially if he doubled up his fist, took a fighting stance, and took a step towards you. And before we go any further, a poll should be appearing in the upper right hand corner of the screen just about now. And please go take that poll and let us know if you have ever had to defend yourself or not. But to continue on with disparity of force, if a bad guy confronts you and he's not armed and he's close to your age and your size and your strength and he's the same sex as you and all he is threatening to do is beat you up, then you will probably be in legal hot water if you use deadly force against that kind of a threat. However, in many places, unless you live in an area that absolutely hates self-defenders, but in many states the courts would find it reasonable for you to use a tool such as a pepper spray or a stun gun or a taser to defend yourself in that type of a situation. First, be certain to know if your area has the duty to retreat law or not. You may be required by your area to try to escape a lethal situation before you can use deadly force to protect yourself. And also learn your area's laws so that you know which weapons that you can carry and or use for self-defense. And then if you do carry any kind of a weapon for self-defense, then I highly suggest that you do belong to some kind of a legal self-defense organization like the USCCA. Having a company that can provide you with an experienced self-defense lawyer will not only help you in criminal court should you be charged, but also help you in civil court for when that dead bad guy's family goes to sue you for everything that you own. The USCCA will protect you whether you use a gun to defend yourself or a knife or pepper spray to defend yourself. And I am an affiliate with the USCCA, so if you would like to learn more about the USCCA and what they can offer you, then look in the description box below this video and click on the link to see what they can do for you should you be forced to protect yourself. Also, violence of any kind should be a last resort and never just a convenient option. You only want to use force of any kind when you absolutely have to and that you are not a willing participant. And if you would like to see a video on how you can use video to help keep yourself out of jail should you have to defend yourself, then click on the link that should be appearing in the upper right hand corner of the screen about now. And as a prepper, you need to make sure that you can purify, not just filter, but purify your water after the grid goes down. So click on the video card on the right side of the screen that shows how you can simply make dirty, filthy water into sparkling and safe to drink water. Anyways folks, if you made it this far, hey, thank you very much for watching, and I pray that you have a good night.